Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. Well, welcome to Friday, the 26th of May. It's Memorial Day weekend here in the United States and in many places around the world. And I would just like to say, take a moment this weekend while you're celebrating to also think about the fallen men and women that have served various armed forces, including the one here in the United States, but never made it home. And that's really what Memorial Day is to celebrate and to signify. So if you just remember them and think about them, I think that would be great. There's been a lot of news in the last 24 hours that affected Tesla, and you may have heard about some, but I'll go over them very briefly. It's been very exciting 24 hours. First, as you can see here, yesterday there was an announcement that Ford and Tesla are going to be joining forces, not only allowing Ford EVs to be able to start using superchargers in 2024, but also that starting from 2025, all the Ford EVs are going to have the Tesla connector built into the car, so it'll be a native application directly to the superchargers. Also, Tesla is sharing some of the APIs to allow the Ford's software to work seamlessly with Tesla's superchargers. Pretty cool. Another great piece of news yesterday is that Tesla's Model Y has now become the best-selling vehicle of any kind around the world. And this dethrones the Toyota Corolla and its various different variations from many years at the top. Also, Toyota Corollas are about half the cost average of Model Y, so this is an amazing achievement. So outstanding on that as well. Another piece of news yesterday that is pretty cool is that the Neuralink company has been granted by the FDA the license to begin human trials with their Neuralink system, which is outstanding, and it has a promise to help quite a few people with debilitating injuries or other issues, and I really do hope that this is successful. By the way, if I haven't told you recently, there's a Neuralink campus being built just about 6 or 7 miles to the east of Giga-Texas, and I'm going to try to get back out there soon and see what kind of progress is going on with that particular facility. So otherwise, for news or developments here on the site today, as you can see by this image down on that southwest corner, they've now unwrapped one of the items that came in those very large crates, and they've moved it up on top of the platform. And as you can see by these images, it's got the label of the company. I haven't had a chance to research them yet. Hopefully I will by the time I start editing the video later today. But if you want to take a look, here's the brand and what this device looks like. And there's 2 of them, so it's pretty cool to see. Otherwise, there's a lot more to see around the site today. And as I mentioned, it's been a great news 24 hours for Tesla. I hope that you have a great Memorial Day weekend, and to remember the men and women that have fallen serving their countries. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you later. Take care. A special thank you to all of my outstanding Patrons for your continued encouragement and support. Patreon members get access to hundreds of high-resolution photos, previews of the future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my channel, please consider becoming a patron using this link, which is also in the video description. Please also consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Despite getting ready to start the Memorial Day weekend here in the United States and other parts of the world, Giga-Texas is very busy today. We start here on the south end, but I'm going to fly up onto the roof segment and show you some of the progress and changes that have happened, specifically with the solar panels. Now, I've had a lot of viewers ask what's going on with the solar panels. Are they continuing to install them, and are they functional? So we'll start here, and I'll show you that these boxes that are being installed on each of the segments of the letters of the large Tesla are being installed and also connected to the electrical wires that go to all of the solar panels. So I think that they're getting ready for them to become operational, and it's related to the Megapack construction site, and we'll talk about that later in the video. Also, on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that there are more of the materials and solar panels being lifted up and staged for further installation. Here are crews actively working on some of these boxes, and they're installing the wiring. Again, this is going to connect all of the solar panels that are existing on the roof right now, and it will continue up to the northeast corner on top of casting, and then it will be connected to conduit on the ground level moving up to the Megapacks. Here we see more solar panels stacked on the bottom center. Also some interesting vents with black tops. I think that putting the black tops just to blend in with the solar panels. The vents that we saw here installed several months ago, looks like that is completed. And then also more materials, more solar panels being stockpiled here on the roof. Those blue segments are also some of the mounts, the Unirack mounts that will be able to put more of the solar panels in. So it looks like there is progress and changes on the roof, and I hope that you enjoyed that tour. As we look along the side of body in white on the window line with the lighting, you can see quite a bit of the robotic assemblers still arranged near the windows, and I do have some insight into the installation of those robots on that second floor of body in white, and all I can say is that they are making progress doing so and setting up additional production capability. The lighting here is great to look into some of these open doors of the stamping machine structure, and we also see some more deliveries with that blue truck and the components, the white components for the AIDA stamping presses. At the bottom of the screen, crews are actively bringing in dirt and doing work on the road, and this is going to extend to the south underneath the cyberpond, and also, as this arrow shows, to the east through the tree line. And this is consistent to some of the renders that we've seen in the past about how River Road will extend through this section and then over to that south bridge that you can see on the top of the screen. Looking down at the southeast corner of stamping, there is continued trenching and work installing these white pipes. Also on the left, underneath the power lines, more of the rebar cages for footings, and rebar cages for continuous flight auger piles are continuing to be made. I'm going to take this opportunity to look straight down and turn the drone, try to avoid some of the lens flare from the sun since it's at a low angle this morning, but this also gives you a pretty good bird's eye view of the work that's going on with this trenching and the white pipe installation. So I'll continue to bring the drone down, and we will get ready to look towards the west where there's some other interesting developments this morning. And here what we see are some white components. They almost look like either wall segments or some platform segments, and we also see some of those white beams on the right-hand side of the screen. I'll show you this forklift that's bringing some of these large white components off of that truck that you see at the top of the screen. It looks like they're temporarily storing them here. I'm not sure what material these are made of, but they look like they are metal of some sort, and they're definitely not concrete. Also, on the ground, there's some graded sections here that are somewhat prepared and allows for movement of vehicles without all the mud. And then here is the closer look at that truck bringing in some of these parts. Again, these may be some of the parts used inside for the assembly lines. I'm not really sure. Also, a large number of concrete slab sections on the right of the screen have been ripped up and moved outside from inside this section of the building. We see some rebar. It looks like some of it's trash, and then the others are rebar cages for the continuous flight auger system. And most of the ground and the grade here is drying out after all of the rains, which is great to see. Maybe we'll get the geopiers and the continuous flight auger piles continue to be constructed now that it's drying out. As we fly over the tip of the cyber pond, I want to show you a few different items. One just on the south side of this road. A lot more of the materials. Those pallets are solar panels. We see steel beams, some columns, some concrete manhole covers, and a variety of other materials. Also, the grade work here for this extension of River Road on the south side of the cyber pond looks like it's really starting to take shape now, and you can see where it will continue over underneath that south bridge. As we turn back towards the main building, when we fly over the cyber pond, there's some earthwork going on here near where the corner section of the building extension will be, and I'm not sure what they're doing other than maybe trying to dry out the dirt. The continuous flight auger cranes are sitting idle here as they have been for the last couple of weeks. Again, hopefully once it dries out, maybe we will start seeing some resumed activity with drilling and making more piers. As we fly over to the southwest corner and the temporary platform, this is a great opportunity for us to finally figure out what was in those crates. And the inset picture shows what they look like when they were delivered earlier this week. Now, since they've got the wrappings off this one segment and they're preparing to lift it up onto the platform, this gave me a great opportunity to find out the name of the company that makes these items and also surmise what we might be seeing as far as the type of equipment that's being installed. These is our equipment that comes from an Italian company called VIGEL, I believe is how you pronounce it, or VIGEL. It's VIGEL Manufacturing Technologies. These are multi-spindle horizontal machining centers, and you can read some of the information there, linear motor machine from a variety of materials, but mostly lightweight materials is what this would be machining. So I'm not exactly sure what they would be used for here at Giga-Texas, but they are being moved up to the third floor platform and then will be installed on the third floor over at General Assembly in this particular section. This is also where we've seen other equipment, particularly some of the air filtration systems and some of the bending machines being installed as well. So if you happen to know what these would be used here at Giga-Texas for, please let me know in the comments. I tried to do a long time lapse to get the actual lift of this item up to the platform, but as you can see, they started lifting it, but then they decided to have a crew meeting and I needed to move on because of battery life. So didn't actually catch the lift itself here, but I did see later on that this item was up on top of that platform and it actually had been moved inside. And it's only about maybe 10 minutes of actual time from this point until when it was up on top of that platform. But let's fly further to the north along the west side of General Assembly and let's take a look at some of the activity near the main entrance today. Not a lot has changed at this main entrance. I haven't seen any changes or work on the steel beams of that architectural feature. Also of interest, this Model Y with the horns, earlier this week it had thank you veterans and various stickers on there for the services. Looks like those have been removed now and it's just the Model Y. This is the end of line and this has 2 new tents. I think that's to help protect the workers and prepare for the Model Ys once they exit, as you see one here, until they are moved over to the east side of the building. So let's change up and go across the road, and let's take a look at some of the activity on the west side of that central highway. More of that clearing on the left, also road work on the right, and then this large material staging location with the 2 white tents. As I pan down, you'll see a lot of earthwork in this particular section. What they appear to be doing is reclaiming a depression here, which was collecting a lot of water, and it looks like they may be raising the grade in this particular section. And the material staging in this location has a lot of plastic tanks, concrete items, and a lot of steel materials. There's also a shop with the flags that does a lot of the modification of the steel parts, and a lot of welding that goes on here as well. As we fly over the north part of this staging location with all of these steel parts, what I want to show you is that the work that is continuing based on that permit to widen and increase the right-of-way and access of Tesla Road on this side of the site is continuing, and it's very evident how they are widening this. Eventually there should be 2 lanes on either side of this median, and that will connect over to Farm to Market 973 on the right-hand side of the screen. As I pan back towards the south across this side of the highway, this gives you a good idea of how this section of the site appears today. So let's get ready to fly over the highway again, and we'll resume on the north side of the main factory. And as I fly over this green section, we are coming up to the Megapack production, or the construction site, and there's a lot of detail, a lot of activity going on here. We'll start on the north end. You can see those drill type piers that have been put into the ground with those flat plates. They should be mounting some sort of equipment on this part of the site. It may be control rooms for the electrical systems. We also see crews on this center section here installing cable trays. These are some concrete items that allow the wiring to connect to the Megapack system and whatever the control rooms are going to be. And you can see a good shot of that at the bottom left of the screen. Here, the conduit making that 90-degree angle at those concrete vaults is continuing over to the south end of the switchyard and all the way south underneath Tesla Road to the main factory. Both of the parallel sections with all of the conduit here for the Megapacks themselves appear to be completed, and now they're installing some additional conduit. And as we fly over the workshops, you can see more of the work on the conduit on the left, and the trailers used for the safety office, as you can read, and also a good view of the conduit. Now, I've heard that a bill of lading or a shipping bill for the 68 Megapacks themselves has been filed, so I'm expecting to see 68 Megapacks arrive in the next week or so, and based on the construction progress that you can see right now, the crews are getting close to the point where they can start installing the actual Megapacks, and it should go very quickly based on some of the guidance that Tesla has filed for other Megapack sites. And of course, we talked about the solar panel installation and the wiring on the roof, so all of this is now starting to come together, which is nice to see. Now, on the south end of the switchyard, we see that those beams that have been installed into the bores and now are holding 2 levels of concrete panels near that excavation. Also, we see some vaults near this crane on the center left of the screen, and then across underneath the power lines, that's where the conduit is proceeding over to this particular section. Again, it's very interesting to see this wall that's being installed. It looks like a retaining wall of some sort, but its purpose, I'm still not 100% sure. And again, if you happen to know, let me know in the comments of the video. I would appreciate that. Now, as we look at the main switchyard itself, the activity that is of most importance right now is the spreading of the gravel, and you see a good look at how much of the gravel has been spread in and amongst all of the steel components, and they're working from the north to the south. Once all of this gravel has been installed and smoothed out and finalized, this will allow the crews to be able to energize the switch yard. So with the switch yard being able to be energized soon, the Megapack site being ready for the Megapacks, and the roof solar getting ready for wiring, I think this is all great signs that we're getting close to the completion of that particular project. So as we fly over the Martin Marietta concrete batch plant, let's reposition to take a look at the battery cathode complex today. Flying to the northeast over these hills and ponds that are the remnants of that old sand and gravel mine, we see continued work to remove this remaining hill. Excavation work is going on the east side here. A lot of the trucks are lining up to pick up the dirt. This hill is now about a quarter of its original size, and they continue to move this dirt to other sites around Giga-Texas as needed, but also soon this hill will be gone and this entire section will be graded, or at least at a similar grade across the entire site. So it'll be interesting to see if any construction begins. The stainless steel tanks have not moved. There's a lot of activity and materials here on the north side, especially with some workshops. The berm that is separating the west side here and the Martin Marietta plant is almost completely gone now, and it looks like they're continuing to do more excavation work. Soon that's going to encroach completely into that Martin Marietta plant. As we fly over onto the east side, the cell test lab looks like the conduit in that dirt, that darker dirt section, is all installed now, and they're filling it back in, which is great, so it could have electrical power for the cell test lab. The east side here, all the materials, some of these trailers, some of them, the white ones at the bottom, are for spoiled water that they will collect and then recycle in a safe way off-site. These platforms are very busy as well. We can see inside the opening where that 7-story tall assembly with all the machinery has been installed inside. But here's a new development. There's these 4 large, almost looks like tanks on their side items. Here's a zoom in so you can get a better view. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but it looks like they're all identical, and perhaps we'll see these moved into that large opening on the cathode plant as well soon. But compare that to the size of the vehicles and you can get an idea that these are pretty large items. As we fly around the south end of the battery cathode plant, looks like that end is still open in the middle, and right there where the opening is. There's not a lot of equipment that's been put inside, so still monitoring that. The die shop looks like this main entrance on the bottom is still waiting for glass. Looks like concrete pads near that tent have been poured and are cured. Looks like they're working on some of the wall panel gaps and filling those in. And then this chiller plant and the nitrogen vaporizer system, looks like there's a lot of activity on the ground level. There's also a crane that's been lifting up some of these grates that are being put along that roof section. And it looks like about, 70% of those have now been installed. And it's pretty obvious where you see the gray and then those white pipes sticking up out of there. The underneath has a lot of those pumps, manifolds, pipes, and other equipment. Again, this is just a very complex structure apparently, and it's been taking them quite a long time to assemble it, but it's starting to look more and more like a completed and finished product. The north side of the die shop, it looks like they're finishing up the ground where they had the blue water pipes and filling in all of the trenches. The roof itself is mostly completed now with that weatherproof membrane. As we fly over on this section, the conduit extending to the west underneath where some of these small bulldozers are and excavators, comes to this point here. You can see some of those vaults, the conduit underneath this access road, and then continuing through these trenches further to the west. Eventually, this is going to connect into those conduits that we saw earlier running along the side of the megapack section and moving up to the electrical switchyard. And all this will power the die shop and the battery cathode complex of buildings. I wanted to turn back here quickly and show you there's a trailer or kind of a container that's been put next to this old house, and it looks like some more of the trees are being marked for movement at some point in the future. I'm not sure exactly why that house is still here, but it is something I continue to monitor to see what they will do. All of the materials being stored on the north side of the warehouse on wheels is just continuing to grow. As you could see, the warehouse on wheels with all the trailers is very, very busy. And as it continued to fly across the east side to the far southeast, you can see how this section looks with the main factory in the far background, and also just get a sense for the amount of materials, equipment, workshops, and some of the trailers for the contractors look here. There's some concrete panels that were removed from the south end still being stored here. And then in this section, the small workshop with those wooden walls and that kind of plastic top. It looks like it's nearly completed with some of the old concrete panels making a floor. And then here we see more materials by those trailers and possibly a loading dock made out of old concrete panels. It's certainly not a permanent structure. As we move back towards the new car staging and transportation lot, you can get a good sense of how busy it is today. A lot of the trucks picking up the Model Ys and a lot of activity next to these two tents, and those mimic what we saw installed over at the end of line on the west side of the building. This small lot continues to be busy testing, calibrating, and also doing some of the supercharging for the new vehicles. And then on the east side here at the receiving docks on the north part of the body in white, you can see that large apron section continues to have some of that concrete cut out, made into sections, and then removed. It's part of a reconfiguration work that is going on in that section. The conduit here next to the stacked castings is pretty much complete. It works its way along the berm, and as we fly up over the power lines, this gives you a good view of how it all is looking right now. Many of the concrete vaults waiting for final installation, but that conduit continues all the way around this berm, and you'll see some additional work being done here in this one corner. Now this is near where the conduit will go underneath into the casting machine structure underneath that perimeter grade beam, and I think this is where all of those solar panels, electrical wires will be connected. But you can see a lot of activity here, continuing to do some trench work and some additional rework to prepare for all of this conduit. Looks like they're removing some concrete as well near where they have those conduit staged. There's also this section here that looks like it's part of the fire water loop. Some rework for some reason at that particular site as well. It may be related to all the other excavation work that we saw. Here at the plastic shop, it's hard to tell, but there's this rack right next to this open door. Those are blanks for the bumpers, and it's part of what is used to actually form the plastic bumpers for the Model Ys. And those are just being stored outside for right now until they're needed. So that's a quick look again across Giga-Texas on this Memorial Day Friday, right before the Memorial Day weekend. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I hope you have a great weekend. Take care.